Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to week 5. It's business as usual as the SPL continues, and we're over in North America for this Thursday.
Starting off here, we're going to have Denial taking on Envy, and this is a little bit of a grudge match, I would have to say. After week 1, Envy actually poached Mask away from Denial,
They did.
and then they kicked him last week, and now he's found himself back on Denial eSports. So I'm pretty sure he wants to come out and prove his worth against his old squad.
Well, before we get into game one, let's look at the standings and see where these two match up on them. And you'll see Denial currently sat in 6th position, and Envy sat in 4th, 6 and 6. However, Denial beat them here. They'll jump above Envy this week.
I mean, for me, it's the Pentagon of Power, right? Enemy, Eager, Luminosity, Envy, and Soar have all been taking games off each other, but with these swaps
Pentagon of Power.
The Pentagon of Power, man.
Pentagon of Power.
It's the Pentagon. You know, in Europe, it's just Panthera, right? But in North America, who knows who's going to be #1? Who knows who's even going to DreamHack? But Denial Esports, I think, with these changes back to the original roster that they had planned to run heading into Season 3, they could join them.
They can, but let's take into account the one game they played with Mask was against Randozos.
That's fair. That's actually really fair.
So still, unreally looked at this team to see how it's going to play out. They've played Randozos, and then since then they've only found splits against Allegiance and Enemy. The rest have been losses. So they've struggled. And maybe Mask will take a little bit of time to warm up with the team again.
We'll have to see. But he's actually been friends with him for quite some time. And actually something their coach tweeted out just yesterday, which I think is pretty important here, is the fact that he said that if a player doesn't trust their teammates or is afraid of them, he's never going to perform in the SPL. And I think that's something that maybe Mask kind of had under his belt heading into the games, because in scrims, Omega stated, when they dropped Mask, that he was performing. He was, one of the best players they had ever worked with. It just didn't seem that he was the same player come game time in the SPL, and a lot of that might have been the pressure. You come into a situation where you've seen 3 kicked members in the past month, and it's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, both coming off the back of losses. One of them will at least take a game, maybe even 2. Let's go into picks and bans and see how this one play out, because it will be Eonic versus Masks is going to be the biggest talking point of this game. New jungler for each of the rosters. Both played with these rosters before, but now find themselves back where they started this season.
Mask, similar to Jiffy, really touted as a superstar coming into Season 3. And I touted him as well. I think he is a phenomenal player, but he wasn't really working in Envy's system. And Eonic, though, was. Eonic, formerly a support player for Team Solomid for a long time, switched over to jungle after being Envy's coach, right? He actually goes over to Randozos when they lose their jungler Skeleton, and honestly, his jungle has been pretty good, and I think maybe more in an established system, and all he has to do is kind of keep his carries alive and be that shot caller. We really could see Envy rise, and I think Envy and Denial both benefited from these jungler changes.
Well, one thing both Envy and Denial have benefited from the season as well is Bologna. They've both been playing it a lot, but it's already been banned out by Denial here. 14 games played between the two for that Bologna, and it's managed to find them 6 wins between these two teams as well. And ISIS is always a ban you'll see Envy do time and time again.
They don't like it. It's stealth.
Stealth just doesn't like playing against it or playing as it.
I think he likes playing it against it less. I feel like at some point he's got to pick up an ISIS, though. The god is so good, it brings over so many opportunities. But Denial Esports, they're going to be starting it off with the #1 Guardian most teams tout, Khepri.
Still very high pick ban ratio for Khepri, and Thor alongside him will be locked in as well for Eonic in the jungle, who, to be fair to me, Eonic's best performances in the jungle have been on that Thor.
I like Thor because Thor is this every god where you could do a variety of different tactics based on your team composition, right? You can set up ganks early, you can peel for your team, as well as late game, kind of just being this hardcore initiator and letting your Guardian kind of switch to a more supportive style where they're just peeling. Envy also locking Apollo, so double globals coming out from them.
I thought, like you said, he's got multiple options. He could be the aggressive god that goes and initiates, the secondary god who peels, or a secondary initiator either, or either he just plays the very defensive route as well.
Just set up and
multiple
stun
options.
on cooldown.
One of the best all-round gods. And Nijar, the rise of Nijar this season is strong and prominent.
You see that, I think a 38 pick percentage as well as a 24 ban percentage, and Scylla locked in. This is one of the 2 combos we've been seeing with Naja primarily. Actually, one of the 3, right?
Yeah,
it's
3.
It's Naja takes a player to the sky, and then you have a big mage burst ultimate, right? I'm a monster from Scylla. The snipe coming out from Raw. We've seen, I believe it's Pretty Prime on the Titan.
There's been a lot
on the...
Been a lot of Giannis with this. However, Vulcan was the one that
yes.
was very big for the big ult. I mean, Giannis is a bit of the exception to the rule there. Athena is locked in for Envy as well, so it was a little bit of a mistap earlier with the Apollo, but it's still going to be Athena, so 3 globals already for the side of Envy.
Pretty powerful, and Denial Esports, the Naja early on is going to be entirely setup based, right? find kills for Scylla, but they also have the Scylla and the Khepri heading into late game. We saw the best playing a phenomenal performance with Eager just the other day. This god, with the recent buffs, is actually a monster come late game.
I'm talking about solo lane right now is one thing we've not touched on. Omega versus Benji. These two have risen. Omega's been there for a long time now, and Benji has really risen. Volcano's Salt Machine has really climbed the ranks to become
world-class now.
A world-class solo laner. This is going to be a powerhouse match between those two, and the junglers could make the influence there as well.
We'll see if Envy want to draft their solo laner right here and right now and allow Denial Esports the counter pick, or if they'll save it. And it is. It's going to be Omega on the tier. I don't think we've seen him play this so far this season.
It's not too often we see Omega on the tier. He will go to it, though, but he's like the Osiris's, the Hercules. We've seen not too much of a mana either out of him. It's mainly been Bellona this season in the most part. With that on the table, though, where we see Denial go? Probably Guan, I want to say.
Guan is a possibility, not only for the soul lane, but, well, I guess they can't go support right now, but, I mean, Guan really good at resetting fights. Combine that with Khepri, it's going to be very hard to lock players down. Vetium, though, he'll be on Ullr for now, so a lot of mobility coming out from Denial Esports here. You know, the jump from Ullr, the dash from Scylla, Naja has his ult to get out, and they're going to last pick Amaterasu, so a pretty big counter matchup there in the solo lane.
And how's it a big counter matchup?
It's just you could silence Fearless, right?
Okay.
Typically, Amaterasu really struggles in lane early on against most gods, but against Tyr specifically, she's still not going to win the lane, but she has a better matchup just because you can silence the main source of damage coming up from Tyr, or the main like grouping of the minions.
I mean, I get that, but it sounds very like difficult to silence her Fearless. Yes, Kukulkan at the end was going to get to that one, which, let's talk a little bit about Kukulkan.
Well, the Fearless is like, it's a direct, you start here, you end here. You can't change the direction. So once it's started up, I mean, Amaterasu's going to know where he's lining it up, and you can cancel it at the start. Obviously, you're not going to cancel out all the damage, but the second hit, you should be able to.
We'll see. Kukulkan in the mid lane. This is something I expect to see Stealth probably do pretty well at. He's very good with the big AoE ultimates, the likes of Scylla, and I think that's one of the reasons we saw Scylla taken away here, actually, by Denial was against Stealth. But Stealth on the Kukulkan, we've seen it already this season, played by Incon, I believe, when they tried to ban him out in one of the games too. Very good for Gold Fury Secures, big AoE ultimate, and obviously that Tornado, well, if you go for the Gem of Isolation, it then provides CC as well.
Probably by late game. But both of these teams are actually going for kind of the same early game style, where it's set up your mid mage to just one-shot someone with your high damage ultimates.
I'm talking about Stealth a little bit more. Look at his build here coming out as well. Heading straight to the Book of Thoth for the extra power. Also with the Soul Stone. Soul Stone gives mana regeneration, very important for somebody like Kukulkan, but it will give the additional power.
This is dangerous because you can see Stealth has 0 potions. That's Envy are 100% conceding any early pressure. The problem here, though, with going no potions, you can see Mask also has a red pot, you know, in his inventory. He just popped it. Is that he's going to be able to close that gap with a stun.
Look at what the position of the Tornado, the guys at home, hitting both the camps to help clear even quicker. Normally you'll see the Hunter pull the back camp and the support will help with the red camp, but in that situation, being able to hit both is perfect. I agree with you that it's a little bit risky with low health, but the position of Kukulkan is where it's key. If you can position perfectly, you shouldn't be taking free poke. You should be able to just sit there and farm at a safe distance the whole time. And the other thing a lot of people underestimate is the Zephyr right about now, the one. It did have its scaling increased and really chunks in health right now.
Right-hand Harpy is going to go the way of Denial Envy. We're going to be picking up these left-hand sides, so we're going to have a split early on, but if I'm Denial in this situation, I'm trying to be as aggressive as I can, because even if I get into a poke war, the fact that Xenotronics has 2 health potions and Mask has 2 health potions, even if the damage is even, that's a win for Denial at this point.
But realistically, Envy is not going to look for that. They're going to drop Tornadoes,
this is what they should
sit
do.
Under the tower, wait for the level 5. When level 5 comes online, a singular wall from Thor could set up an ultimate coming out from MLC.
And you can even see, I mean, Denial are just baiting them at the edge of their tower. They're screaming, you know, kind of come at me right now. Purple Pot, I believe, on Scylla as well, so Denial going for a very aggressive strategy, but with the recent buff to Crush as well and Soulstone, you can see both mages have picked it up. This is going to be a lot of damage and a lot of fast clear. I mean, Scylla, when's the last time you saw her clear a wave with the Crush, you know, before 11 minutes?
It's funny, she actually started seeing competitive play just before we did that buff as well, but now definitely on the forefront of things. Bad news for Denial, though. Going for this power pot start that they've both gone for here. Playing against Envy's lineup. Envy's lineup are not going to want to fight, and there's nothing for them to do. Look at the lanes. They're both pushed up for them as well.
I like what Xenotronics is doing here. You can actually see his abilities right now. He has 2 points in Crush, and he's level 3. So what he's doing is he's saving his last point for either the escape, if he feels like he's in a bad spot, or for the Sikkim, to where he can set up and lock Stealth in place. But now that he hits level 4, he's going to get both both options there, and then go back and farm his back harpies.
Turn over to the solo lane, Benji versus Omega. Definitely a really interesting matchup. Both level 5 right about now as well. Decent shape in terms of health right now. A little bit of an advantage for Omega with that 1 extra health potion left in the inventory here. As they're both going to head to the boars on the backside.
I think both these teams respect each other, and I doubt we'll see too much aggression until one team decides their wombo combo, right? Is it Masked who's going to connect the Windfire wheels, or is it Eonic who's going to, you know, come crashing down and set up the Kukulkan ultimate? The problem here for EnVy is that they kind of need to bait the Purification before they can confirm their damage, where if Masked takes someone to the sky, it is guaranteed that I'm a Monster is going to connect as long as Xenotronics times it right.
Well, let's check in with the duo lane. We're not seeing them just yet, and there's Vetium right now, who started with Transcendence build coming out here. No throwing dagger on this Ullr, so he's given up a little bit of lane presence early against this Apollo, but he will have extra power in this build as this goes on, based off the extra crit chance that you'll see from
You can actually see Eonic come crashing down, but Vetium read it perfectly, threw out a stun. They were fine anyway, kind of just a little fancy stun there, and that's going to be a wasted ult from Eonic. And a good read coming out from Denial, recognizing that the pressure was on. You started seeing EnVy become much more aggressive, quickly. Denial get safely to their tower.
Zone's going to go back and continue farming up once more. Staff's going to be very safe in mid lane, and this will allow Eonic to free roam if he so chooses, to rotate to the other lanes, look for picks potentially. Amaterasu is a potential target for him. Still, I mean, you do have a Tyr on your side and a Thor. They can definitely combo and bring down an Amaterasu on this right side if he so chooses. They're just going to be careful of the Gold Fury.
And the poke war continues between Benji and Omega, but Benji looks like he's going to grab these fire elementals. He needs to be careful, though. There are 3 members of EnVy over on these right-hand side harpies, but EnVy, I think, are just farming out for the late game for the most part, unless Eonic's ult's online, right? If Eonic's ult is used like it was on dual lane, they don't really want to be the aggressors at all.
Blue buff goes over to Omega. He's going to take back harpies as well, which is actually going to lose him a couple of creeps over on that right-hand side to the tower there, choosing to soak that experience.
Actually a decent amount.
Not sure if it's actually a big creep there, though, because if it is a big creep on the right-hand side, you're not really going to lose anything, to be real. But let's have a little look how many's left when he gets there, because that was a full wave that went to tower.
All right, so he only lost 1 creep of experience.
It's a big one. That's the main thing. The brutes are OP.
And then 2 creeps of gold, so.
Did Omega know it was a brute? That's the question. Did he know it was a brute?
Omega knows it's a brute always.
He knows it was a brute. So
he knows the timing of everything. Like, he's just that guy.
He's still a little bit behind at the moment on Benji, as he just hits 8 as well. They both full clear the wave. Benji went for mana potions over the multi-potion there, so a little bit less health sustain coming out of this, but mana regeneration should be high anyway with that blue pot.
Not only that, but I mean, he doesn't need the health potions because he can switch stanches and heal up, and you can see he's already going into that Benevolence aura, right? So he can switch in between the 2 auras, heal up a little bit of HP 5 tick here, and then just make sure to not get too poked out by Omega, and just farm up, right? You just want to get your Amaterasu to late game.
A little bit of a boxing match between the two. They're going to be both very careful, because Benji can deal a lot of damage when the aura is applied, increasing it. But remember, Fearless is always a threat from Omega here.
The biggest thing for Benji here is the fact that Lawbringer is, well, it's Lawbringer is very readable. It's that, you know, when it comes, it's a pretty long wind-up time, a very big audio queue, so he's going to be able to ult away, but yeah, look at this.
Eonic's around in the Fire Giant pit now as we tune in with Benji here. You can see him just under your left-hand side. Benji recognizes something's up, though, probably by the way Omega's playing this lane. He didn't have a very good poker face there, but he's still going aggressive. Benji takes a lot of poke, going to look to try and dash away, but the wall's already there. And Benji recognizes that, doesn't use his dash, ults in place, gets the stun, turn around, kill 2v1, outplayed.
That was completely outplayed. Honestly, Omega outplayed himself. Lawbringer was way too early. He gets stunned on the landing. The shield confirms the damage. And also, Eonic, he was standing very close to Omega. He's in range for the stun as well, so he can't follow up and chase down the kill. First blood.
I mean, the big thing there was Omega's decision-making was good, I feel. It was Benji's that was even better. Eonic put the wall down to stop the dash out, but Benji realizing that if I dash, I'm going to die, went for the all-in ult, and it worked. They got the payoff.
I also think the stun, I don't think he confirmed the stun either, which was most important, but you could see Denial here trying to bait the Gold Fury. What they were actually doing, they weren't looking for the Gold Fury, they were looking for the pick. You saw all 3 members kind of waiting around that corner.
They were looking for Kukulkan.
Kiki read it out, though.
Well, they were looking for stealth, mainly. If they can find stealth, they can secure the Gold Fury. With stealth being there, the Spirit of the Nine Winds is one of the most dangerous skills in the game.
If I'm stealth, I am never walking into the jungle unless I have complete ward coverage. Like you send Kiki out first. You're like, Kiki, go. Be my shield. You be the guy who gets picked on and dies. Not me. And stealth, honestly, has suffered from some positioning problems in his entire tenure as a Smite player. He's a very good player.
Ganking mid, though. Could be pressure onto Stealth as he's going to get under pressure for the ult. He's actually
switched.
focused on the Eonic from Masked here. Switching stances immediately after the Purification was used. Good Spirit of the Night Winds comes out from Stealth, but Xenotronics picks up Eonic. And now Kiki's going to disengage too. 2-0 to Denial.
Something we didn't talk about as well. You can see Spirit of the Nine Winds comes down. Stealth can also confirm the damage onto Naja when he lands. But another kill going the way of Denial. And
now he
look
can
at
if he knows the original position that the
That's
Ninja
true.
ults from. However, blue buff being invaded by Benji, but Omega well aware of it, going to use the Power Cleave Fearless combo to secure. And actually Lawbringer away, worried about the aggression from the team, which is all focused on poor old Kiki.
Look at the CC chain, but DR comes into play there, so they're not able to stun him for long enough. But, I mean, that's 2 kills for Denial already.
Great start.
They've got themselves about a 1,000 lead. Not the biggest,
Thor's
but
in the sky, though. I
enough.
just saw Eonic up there, and I think that's what Xenotronics saw too. But it looks like Mask got the message a little bit late, so he's under pressure. Luckily, he's got the support there of Shadowq, but they're waiting to kill him, and the double tap from Eonic
Nicely
was
timed.
on point.
Just perfectly timed. You can see Vetium rotating over as well, actually on the high side of that, but he's going to walk over a ward, and Envy aren't going to get caught off guard once again. Omega, I think he tried to... Okay, I think he tried to steal something.
Wow, this is Benji that's trying to look at trying to get his own blue buff here. Omega over on this side once again, looking to try to steal it away. Not going to find it though. Xenotronics hanging in mid lane here, going to get spotted by Eonic, so Sentinel's back to the safety user tower.
Look at that child's play, Scylla.
It's awesome.
I know. Like, normally Scylla's like so scary, but
She's so cute.
how you? It's like sock puppet like dogs. Like, you can't be scared of that.
Sock
You can't be
puppet
scared of
dogs.
that. Yeah, that's what they are. Like, or squeaker toys.
They're
I don't
dogs
know, man.
though? They don't look like dogs.
Well, whatever. You know what I mean.
I mean, Tom would agree with you because he loves dogs, but
Oh my God, it's so bad. I think he fakes it at this point.
let's check into the graphs at the moment, though, just to see the difference in experience. It's 2,000 now, just off those
Significant.
2 kills. And where's that come from, though? Where has that come
I think that's mostly the soul lane, and not only does Omega die, but Benji lives. While it's only a 1 level difference right now, it was a 2 level difference a little bit ago, and there we go. Benji hits 13. So he has found a lead. Most notably, he's going to have a second relic. If Denial kind of want to take this opportunity to look for a Gold Fury, they're going to be up in relics. And if Benji goes something like Shell or Meditation, it's going to be very useful in a team fight.
What an opportunity as well for an Amaterasu to get ahead in a lane against a tier. It's not something that you would expect. You'd probably farm out through that lane. But to get a lead as an Amaterasu, who's, let's be fair, her early game is where she's weakest, he's really done a good job with this, Benji, especially after he was the one that got ganked.
I mean, Omega's known as one of the best soul laners in the world, but Benji has proved his worth as well. Ever since Enemy went to Worlds, they took second. I mean, he was second to Demi. That's the only guy who I think got the better of him in that entire tournament. He destroyed Xaylia in his matchups, and Omega, he's good, he's consistent, but Benji, I think, when he's on point, he may be unbeatable in North America.
Well, Shadowq, you're going to place a ward there. He did that route over the wall blind that you saw, and he actually gave away the position where Envy were hanging around the corner. So left Harpies go the way of Denial. They're looking into the jungle right about now, as well as red buff is available. I'm not sure if they know that. They should have an idea as they're looking to clear out wards around here. Eonic may look for a double tap of cheekiness, which he does. Only finds a single on Shadowq.
Denial really want to force this Gold Fury, but it's very worrying, right? Not only the Kukulkan, who can secure it or steal it away, but also because of Thoralt. It's always worrying, right? If you're going to go for a Gold Fury, you need to make sure that Thoralt is basically down, or you always run the risk of getting stunned and kind of wiped. That actually happened to Envy just the other day against Enemy, where Thoralt comes crashing down, stuns 4 players because they're all grouped.
Wall going to come out. It's actually going to pin away Kiki from going for a taunt there, as well as he did dash in at the exact same time the wall comes down. Omega made the rotation. Shadowq's been caught after the abduct goes down. Spirit of the Night Winds will secure the kill. Easy pickup for Stealth, but maybe there's a turnaround with Benji going in.
Gonna find the stun. Eonic's up in the air as well. Is he gonna dive to the backline or just look to peel Mast? Trying to get out for now, and he's actually not gonna be stunned. Good use of Purification. I'm a monster! Finds one. Xenotronics gets the reset. He's trying to run though, and CycloneSpin chases him down.
Cyclone gets the kill, but can he get out as well as Benji? Still looking for a potential pick with Vetium here. Cyclone just holding his abilities the best he can as Kiki creates a front line once more. So the trade is a 2-for-1 in favor of Envy. They're tying us up at 3-3.
Getting the better of that one. Xenotronics, though, I mean, if he was able to connect another hit on I'm a Monster, maybe it turns around with, Vetium there, but not enough damage. No one looking at the Gold Fury yet. It's very hard because both these players, or both these teams, have these high damaging mage ults.
Would you rather have seen Xenotronics just look for the second ult on anyone, even though he wasn't going to get a kill from
I think
that?
at a point he should have realized that he was being chased down, especially with Apollo, who has so beautiful. Just get the damage off all you can, but I guess he thought he could get out.
Really respectful for both the Hunters there. They poked each other a little bit, but I think they were both scared of a rotation coming in, so they did continue the fight. But nope, I'm just going to farm this and back away as well, because this could be a little bit too risky. There could be a rotation any time, and I guess that's more Vetium's credit, because obviously Athena is on the map, even though she didn't have her ultimate.
And Vetium has his Transcendence finished, so he escaped out of the Golden Bow early game, which means he's actually going to be further ahead of CycloneSpin. That's one thing that, you know, obviously Throwing Dagger has made a lot of other gods viable, but Transcendence is still the best item in all Hunter builds. Like, just the power base is so useful. There's so many attack speed and crit and penetration options that...
Is it all Hunter builds, though? Like, Rama doesn't... Rama would prefer Throwing
No, Transcendence... I'm pretty sure Transcendence is one of, if not the best.
But a Rama who doesn't really use...
Just power base, yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, I can see it. Set up once again, though, from Denial the Gold Fury. They did this last time round, but didn't find anything. This time, though, they're going to pull the Gold Fury. Kiki going to spot that one out immediately. And they're going to actually continue to hold it on to Shadowq for a second. But is this bait worth it? Because it's going to be a 3v3. Telling a lie, it'd be a 4v3 right now, because I think we can also see Mask hanging around here as well. Shadow, we're rotating
Stealth. Oh. No, the rest of his team was kind of
Shadow's out of position here completely now. He was overextended, has to abduct away, already at half health. Opportunity for power play for Envy now. Around the Gold Fury, if they look at that, knowing that Shadowq's lost half his health.
And Shadowq electing to go to the breastplate, so he doesn't have a health base right now. He has gone into the tank boots, which is going to be helpful, but it's, you know, it's still no health, and he can get bursted.
They recognize it. They recognize they force Shadowq
they
back.
Kukulkan. This is free.
Kukulkan is available. There is an Iron Monster available, but it's not going to be there in time. However, maybe Kiki's going to play the Iron Price here, looking to pick him up. Two ultimates. Well, sorry, one ultimate used there to secure the kill for him. Mask trades out for the Gold Fury. Let's go to the graphs and see how it stands.
Right now, a 900 gold lead. So Envy, getting down a little bit early, have equalized it and taken a slight lead. Experience completely even. But Kiki, they're getting a little bit greedy, trying to counter ward there and gain control, although it wasn't really needed considering they just took the Gold Fury, gets caught. And that's one thing about Denial's composition is they have a lot of CC that they can chain you in.
And realistically, Denial gave up that Gold Fury from Shadowq taking an unnecessary poke more than anything else. That unnecessary poke really came back to haunt them then because they lost the Gold Fury effort.
It's a little bit different though. He was actually trying to see if he could find a kill or set up a kill onto either Stealth or Eonic in the mid lane. The problem was Kiki, I believe it was Kiki, had rotated in and cut off his path behind him, so his carries weren't there. Envy recognize it, poke him out, and then, like you said, do a really good job of then just forcing the Gold Fury. Kukulkan ult, one of the highest damaging mage ults in the game, and because it's not instant, but you can time it pretty well, it's almost guaranteed. It's doing maybe not more damage than Wrath right now, but it's pretty close.
Relic's online for the solo lane is Hey, because he meditation for Benji's. He's looking to steal away this blue, but he is alone here, which is a little bit risky. He's not going to get the blue buff, but he will get away with his life as he's level 17 right now. Still, 2 levels over the Omega, who's gone into Blink as his other Relic, which is not a shock.
Going to be able to kind of just bully the backline, but I expect to see Omega on this Blink kind of focus on Vetium here, try and, if anything, force out his jump, although the later the game goes, the harder it is to kind of bully the Hunters. They have a lot of options to shred frontline warriors. One of the reasons that Envy actually lost to Enemy the other day in that first game in their set, where it was a back and forth, and even though Envy had most of the kills come late game, those warriors, they fall off a little bit. They can't be the kind of the frontline tanks that they are when they have, you know, 2, 3, 4, up to 7 level lead.
When you talk about, like, consistency of, like, whether they fall off or not, well, let's talk about the Hunters here a little bit. Cyclone on this Apollo, for me, late game becomes a hyper carry, whereas Ullr is a sustained damage dealer throughout the game, but I would never consider him a hyper carry in, like, you know, the latest
He has more options, I would say Ullr does, right? CycloneSpin's going to be, I'm going to split push and I'm going to box you. Mid lane, though,
Xenotronics gets an ult off by the looks of it and actually picks up Eonic there as well. Not sure if he used the ult to secure and get a reset or not.
So, okay, no, Eonic didn't even ult. I'm assuming they tried to set up the stun, but Xenotronics kind of got his ult off in time. He did get hit by the Spirits of the Nine Winds, but they were able to turn it around on Eonic. I'm assuming off of kind of a pluck coming out from Shadowq there.
Mask into Xenotronics is what it looks like.
Okay, yeah, Mask ult is down as well.
So they just did the wombo combo in mid lane. I know he missed it. Apologies for that one. But 5-3 now in favor of Denial as it continues. But yeah, like, talk a little bit more about Ullr. Like, he's there for consistent damage compared to the Apollo, right?
He also has, you know, kind of a jump over the wall, which means he can weave in and out of fights. He's a little bit safer. However, it is worrying because Eonic and Omega can both chase him over walls. Eonic's going to have a better chance at it, obviously. He doesn't have to burn his ultimate, but Ullr just has so many poke options from range as well, and while his abilities, you know, aren't going to be hitting as hard as his auto attacks late game, it's still decent poke that adds up.
It does add up, but I see online for both of them as well, so a little bit of sustain there on both sides. As he turns over to the boars of his own there, Vetium gets help from Masked, who's just soaking experience, who's now level 14, just a small lead over Eonic in the jungle.
And gold about dead even right now. I mean, it's 600 difference, 17 minutes, that's a couple potions and some sentry wards. And
there's nothing been too crazy this game,
no.
other than that pick on...
It's just been pick. It's
that pick by Benji is what I want to say. That 2v1 by Benji.
Yeah, that wasn't really a pick, that was a turnaround.
Other than that, everyone's pretty much gone as expected in this game. There's nothing unusual or not say unexciting, but you know.
Well, that's the thing, right? I said at the beginning, both these teams are looking for the same thing, right? They're looking for the Thor dunk or the Athena taunt into the Kukulkan ult, and Denial, they're looking for Mass to find someone in Windfire Wields, and then I'm a monster on top with Xenotronics, right? These are pick-based early game compositions, and it just happened that Envy was able to pick up a Gold Fury as well.
Cyclone did a good little bait there. You saw him step out to get hit by the axe, looking for Eonic to come in, but it was just
he
not
dashed
available.
forward. CycloneSpin actually... Okay, he backed off.
Not going to find it. In the jungle, though, Denial going to invade the blue buff again. This time round, though, they've brought 4 men instead of just Benji on his own. Will they get the blue buff? The Thor will hit! A big-time ultimate from Stealth Connects. Shadowq's going to run for his life. He's going to get Lawbringer. No, Omega misses that one, but Omega still giving chase here. They're looking for Shadowq. Potentially, Shadowq going to get cut off by Omega. Trapped by the wall. Pinned in place, trying to juke out, but now the ultimate's on cooldown. Can he get away? He ducked, and Benji's ultimate was secure. However, Cyclone comes in from across the other side of the map.
Actually, Eonic, he wants more sprints, popped, masked, forced to use Purification there away from the taunt. Should be able to get to the tower safely, but
Envy fire chance?
Walk away with 2 kills. It's kind of risky.
I think if they would have found one more pick there, that was a fire
If they had Kukulkan ult, I think they would. But it's a little bit risky. Instead, they're going to siege this tower. They've got 4 members. They also sent Omega over to the right-hand side, who's going to be able to take the tier 1 on right. But no, Gold Fury's up as well, so it looks like a Gold Fury call. But there's only... Not everyone's here. Omega's still over in that soul lane looking for the tier 1.
Has his ultimate, and Vetium is here. When we've seen Ullr's secure Gold Furies before, can Vetium follow suit with that? Well, he's only going to use the Rain of Arrows. He's got his axes out right now, going to slam it into Omega's face, but now he has to give up the Gold Fury for the second time in this game in the way of Envy.
I think that was smart coming out from Denial. You know, Vetium goes in, he tries to see if he can secure something. Actually, Benji walking to the mid lane needs to be a little bit careful. Omega trying to find him under tower, and he's going to. It's up to the rest of Envy if they can combo him, but it looks like they're going to give him up, and actually Omega turned on.
Omega gets turned on heavily by that root, which also cripples and allows Mass to get the sash off too. Good combination from Denial. When Benji, to be fair, was overextended a little bit then, but it was Envy that ended up paying the price for that one.
It looked like
Xenotronics a little bit more in mid. Going for Polynomicon by the looks of it here.
Very early. Not something you typically see, and I think a lot of that's because he's getting dove. Speaking of dives, though, mid lane, Stealth nowhere to go. Has Athena ult on top. It actually knocks Mask back into the tower. Benji,
Stealth's alive.
Very deep, but shouldn't be able to chase anyone down. No ult.
Benji's very taken by Eonic, dunks it on Benji, now going to get some damage off from the Berserker Barrage, but level 20 to level 14, and those build differences, I'll tell you, it takes a while to bring down those solo lanes.
It's going to take a long while. He's finished off some magical protection, has max cooldown with Breastplate and Jotun's Wrath, and that's one of the most important things, is just having your dashes up more, having your stance switches up more so you can heal up, switch to your movement speed, or if you need to get away. This is the power spike for Warriors right now. It's when they hit level 20 and they're 5 levels above everyone else on the team.
The most interesting thing for me about this game has been the item choices that I'm seeing coming out, because I'm just like querying so many things. Not like they're bad, just like Shadowq sold his starter item here to invest into his bulwark quicker. We've got a Polynomicon coming out from Xenotronics very, very early. And meanwhile, the Kukulkan MLC went for Medjai's boots instead of the mana boots, which give cooldown, but also mana, which increases your damage overall, but less pen.
I think he just wanted the pin so he could blow up Shadowq,
I guess,
more. Because Shadowq is the only one on this team that doesn't have Purification outside of Omega, outside of Benji, who's going to be pretty tanky naturally. So supports are always in these wombo combo pick comps. It's always actually easier to find the supports and take them out because they're not tanky enough early game.
By doing that though, what that means is that the Watcher's Gift that's running on Kiki now is still ticking away and generating income, as well as it gives him a little bit more health overall. So the longer this game goes on, Kiki's gold per minute will just continue to increase for free.
I mean, you also have to look at the boots as well. He's gone Travelers, which means he's got to have bonus gold from that as well stacking up. You can already see about a 900 gold difference between the supports, and there's only been a single Gold Fury taken by Envy, so that's 600 the other way. To be fair, though, Shadowq has died twice, but he will be getting a little bit less farm, and it's going to be harder for him to get into his core items.
Talking about his farm, at least he's even at the moment in terms of levels, which shows even though he has died, he's still been collecting that experience, which is very important. Actually ahead of Kiki as that last wave comes in. Hobbies on the left aren't available yet, but once again, now return to this spot on the left-hand side, looking to try and pick somebody off on this rotation round.
So they actually, they may not know the sentries here. They're just going to play some normal ward. They're actually not in vision of the sentry, but I think Envy knows something's up, especially after it's been countered there. But
the group up as well, you even saw Cyclone was over there, over that red buff side, so they had an idea that may be the play that Denial's looking for. So that's either been scouted before or they're just well aware of what they're looking to do.
Omega, full-on proxy here, going to be behind the Phoenix. And funny enough, no one's going to be able to like get to him in time, but what this does is potentially draw someone from Denial to see, is he actually still hanging around here, or is he cutting upward?
Can we kill him? And if they do, if Omega finds 2 people there, they'll look for pressure elsewhere. Talking about pressure, teleport from Omega now after he has proxied that to help secure this red buff from the left-hand side. Envy, steal that one away with the extra man pressure, and there's nothing that's going to be lost from Omega here on this rotation.
And this is what's really hard for Denial against Envy once they find a lead, is they have the triple globals, right? They have the Thor, they have the Apollo, they have the Athena. A 2v2 fight can become a 4v2 fight very quickly.
With that rotation from Omega, though, with that teleport, is it really worthwhile? Because now he's going to be very careful about the Gold Fury objective, because Benji can teleport to that fight and he won't be able to now.
That's true. Maybe something Denial going to have to think about. I'm not sure if they saw the teleport used, if anyone was in range, but I'm sure once they noticed Omega there, the call's going to come, and that's on 140 seconds, and Gold Fury's going to be spawning in 40, so they have about a minute-and-a-half window to try and take advantage of it. But it's always, like I said, it's still triple global. You also have Kukulkan ult. It's very dangerous for Denial to go for this Gold Fury unless they're able to like win a fight very cleanly.
Still an even keel game between these two teams. Obviously, both playing with the junglers back on the rosters that started the season off. Mask back to Denial from Envy. Eonic back to Envy from Randozos. Both playing against each other, and this could be anyone's game still.
And no real mistakes made from either team, right? The only mistake that you can maybe point to was Shadowq getting caught out, but a lot of that was he was trying to set up a kill, and Kiki kind of blocked off the rest of his carries.
Maybe First Blood as well. They could have played that a little bit better, could have Envy. But
I think if they split up more, maybe instead of both of them getting stunned.
Yeah, it could have helped him a little bit, but in the end of the day, there's not been many mistakes. And if they're the ones we're going to nitpick on this broadcast, then it just shows you that these guys are playing very, very well.
They're both playing cautious as well, right? We've seen Eonic go for 2 early ganks, right? Most notably the one on the Soul Lane we talked about. Also tried to gank left early, and now Envy, they're going to be positioning themselves around Gold Fury. You could see Cyclone pull it on the corner of your screen there,
Omega.
But they just want to bait the fight. That's all these teams ever do, is they just bait the fights at Gold Fury.
Well, Omega and Benji are both rotating through to mid lane now, so no teleport going to be needed for this Gold Fury potential engagement here, but Envy just going to drop a tornado, cut off an angle of aggression from Benji coming in from mid lane there. Meanwhile, Omega going to farm out that mid lane. He's not going to be too worried about being aggressed on. He's still tier after all, and Envy just reset for a second and then maybe look for some sentries, which they currently don't have in their inventory.
So this is actually a double bait. You could see Omega trying to steal away this blue, but this is going to draw Denial to them. If Envy want to either take the fight or try and do Gold Fury, now's the opportunity. But it doesn't look like it. Omega walks away with the blue.
Cyclone will get Vetium's rotation and punish him for it here with a tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. This was just a good decision to stay in lane, knowing he could still rotate to the fight.
This feels like how Eager beat Enemy to me, right? Eager beat them with chess. They forced rotations, they took a tower at a time, they found an individual pick, they stole a buff, it was just everything at a time. And that's what's so powerful about Apollo, is if you can draw the attention of the other hunter, who almost has to rotate in a lot of these situations, because they know Apollo has a global, and they can't worry their team to fight a man down. But Denial, I think they caught a couple backs.
I think they did, but the thing is, Cyclone is here, so he's recognized it. Athena's going to ult in for help to protection, which forces Denial back once more. No panic out of Envy. However, Omega on the back, he's going to teleport and try and catch Shadow. Doesn't find the Fearless, though. Instead, he's going to get pressured himself. That crush is going to hit multiple members of Envy and poke him down. Eonic looking to pressure Xenotronics, but gets engaged on by Mass there, forced to purification away. Was Eonic there, so a small win as Benji goes aggressive on him too.
That's a double win. Kiki is poked low, also doesn't have an ult. I mean, if Denial are going to take an opportunity to try and fight the Gold Fury, do the Gold Fury, it's going to be now. Spirit of the Nine wins. Ult from Eonic still up though.
They are going to give this one up. Denial going to get the Gold Fury here. Envy are well aware of the situation, but they realize there's nothing that they can do with the poked out members of the team, so they back away. First Gold Fury of the game in favor of Denial drops, and you can see that in the graphs.
Benji as well, trying to steal away that red buff. It's actually been pulled way out. CycloneSpin going to lock it down, but Stealth getting chased. Good Mez coming out from CycloneSpin. Masta over the wall, finds an ult.
Is there a follow-up though? That's the question. Yes, there is. I'm a monster drops, but it's not enough damage for the kill abduct, and Vetium will secure it. Smith of Nightwinds connects, but it does not find a kill. Omega trying to keep Benji, locks in position as Eonic does pick up Master on the back of that fight too. We follow through Vetium trying to swing around the side with the help of Xenotronics, looking for a potential pick here onto Eonic, who's sanctuaried perfectly, but the tornado is another perfect position. The boys of Denial are trying to get away from this one, as I think Envy is still looking to go in.
Benji made it out, but actually Vetium trying to turn around, took a big swing. Xenotronics over the wall, will take out Eonic, and now dashing forward. Xeno finds a double kill, and what looked like an Envy fight quickly turned around in favor of Denial.
They're looking to try and push down mid a little bit, but they've got no minions with them, really. I think it's like 3 minions for this side. They are big minions, though, so maybe they can try and put some pressure on Benji. Going to take aggro to begin with Vetium here. Denial are going to punish the aggression of Envy there, I want to say, and get a Gold Fury and a Tier 2 tower.
3 for 1 in kills as well. Beautiful turnaround coming out from Denial. Envy were chasing, but they just kind of split up a little bit, and that's the thing about Kukulkan. When he's caught, what's he going to do if all his cooldowns are down? He has nothing to get away. He has obviously a little bit of movement speed, but it's not enough, right? It's not like Scylla who can dash over a wall.
Indeed, and instead he just ends up getting picked. He did hit a good ultimate, though. He channeled it through the gap, but the problem was, I think he hit Benji. Was it Benji or Master?
No, it's Master. He hit Master.
That's why Master died to Eonic.
And Eonic picked him up, yep.
And one thing I was going to say before we saw that was Denial's roster here, their engagement, realistically, is masked hitting a sash, hitting an ultimate, bare, pretty much. They can have Benji go aggressive, yes, who can silence, but you'd have to ult to burn it. You don't really want to see Shadowq trying to abduct people as you engage.
The other thing they can do is bait, right? And that's kind of Benji's job, like you said, right? Benji goes, bullies the back line. What happens is Envy just kind of group to try and deal with him. Omega's melee, Eonic's melee, Kiki's melee range, and then CycloneSpin and MLC Stealth, right? They kind of have to be like a little bit close, and you can kind of bait Envy into using a lot of cooldowns and engage off of that, but it is a little bit harder. It is a lot harder, and I think if Envy's aggressive, that's when Denial, their team fights are going to be better.
Well, Denial trying to abuse the map situation now. Pressure in a Tier 1 tower. Big rotation coming out from Envy, but it'll be too late to save the tower. Will they consider fighting, though, is the question. It looks like Denial were thinking about it, but changed their mind. Kiki on the front, though, going to look for some aggression potentially here, but Benji creating a very good zone for his team.
Xenotronics around the corner. It's actually going to be another blink by Mask. Eonic forced to use Purification. He's going to hammer out for now. Denial, they're keeping this up, though. They want to siege this Tier 2 tower, at least look for a kill.
Well, they do have that Scylla with Ultimate Polynomicon online
up
as well, and that Obsidian Shot. Because level 20, obviously, Scylla's power spikes again. Remember that every single one of her abilities that gets maxed increases the amount of damage it does. So I'm a Monster will absolutely destroy this team
Plus
now.
80 power at level 20 alone. Has Polynomicon as well. Fully stacked do more. Obsidian Shard, you can just see 546 magical power, and he's still got 2 items to go.
I say that, but we talk about that mage, but keep an eye on Stealth as well, who's got Rudder 2, who he finished. He's working towards a Polynomicon himself here, which is an insane item for a Kukulkan as well. If he can get an ultimate off after a Kiki taunt, this could be a quick fight.
Benji trying to bait there, but going to take half his life, and actually Kiki turned around rooted by Xenotronics.
Ult comes out from Masto trying to defend himself from Benji, who was very, very low. Spirit of the Nightwinds connects with Masto, and he gets deleted. However, Vetium gets a double kill for himself, securing that of the aggressive Omega.
That's the thing, though. Spirit of the Nine Winds, you can find the Naja when he lands, but still a 2 for 1 in favor of Denial. They're going to pop Shell, they're going to take a Tier 2 tower, and they're going to walk home, unless Envy want to chase, and actually, they could. They have CycloneSpin's ultimate. Eonic has ult as well, but it looks like they're going to give it up. Maybe if they catch someone backing.
But look at the golden hand.
I mean,
it's 1,500 plus for most of them. Mass is dead, had 1,400 there.
Did Benji have 3,500?
I'm not sure he had a lot.
I think he had 3,500.
So we'll check in with builds. Mantle of Discord, had an Dominion Lion there for that solo laner.
455.
As well as Pestilence too. So already Benji in a very, very good spot this game, 1-0 and 6. The whole side of Denial, to be fair, I mean, Xenotronics, 6-2 and 4.
Mantle of Discord, what you were talking about, actually was Benji sold Breastplate for it, so turning away from the max CDR to become a little bit tankier. And you could see he did get turned on there in that last fight, taking a lot of damage from MLC Stealth and Kiki's taunt.
And those tornadoes, they do a lot of damage, like consistently. The longer you sit in it, it keeps refreshing back to the full 3 seconds. 2.5 seconds, is it?
EnVy
yeah,
have so much setup for it, right? Not only Kiki's taunt, they have Eonic stun from Tectonic Rift, as well as the ultimate Anvil of Dawn. Omega can fearless people into it. There's also CycloneSpin, he can Mez. Now, you're not going to get the full damage off, but you can at the very least interrupt them trying to get out of it, so they take an extra tick or two of damage. And that's what it's like. Right now, EnVy, it's like protect, stealth. Right? That's kind of their goal in this game.
If we can get a juggler from Omega with the Fearless combo, you can ult into that or Tornado into that too. The longer this game goes on as well, stealth will become more and more deadly. That's the other talking point. Just like a Scylla, the only difference is that you have an ultimate that you can reset or one that will just kill your whole team in one shot.
I mean, if you're grouping up, it's dangerous. And that's the thing. We haven't seen Kukulkan in so long that it's kind of hard to know how to play against him. You'll see him experiment a little bit in ranked and scrims, but it's not like you play against a Scylla, you know, every other game. But Denial, they're going to take this opportunity and sneak a Gold Fury.
Denial are working things out for themselves very well so far this game, considering they did, you know, they were technically ahead at the start with a 2-0 lead, but it's not been consistent because EnVy came back in with those Gold Furies and took the lead at one point. We go to the graphs quickly, you'll see how it's been up and down this game.
6,000 now in favor of EnVy, but at a time, Denial, or excuse me, of Denial, but at a time, EnVy had themselves about a 3,000 lead?
Are those graphs showing us something interesting, though, Kevin, that EnVy have been behind on experience the whole game still? Even when they were ahead in gold, they were still behind on experience.
I still think a lot of it's off of Benji. You can see most of the other players are kind of equal in level.
Shadowq
is the other one. Yeah. But that's not that important, right? When it comes to support, a lot of the times it's about getting to level 12, just so you have your second relic, and then your gold. And Kiki has been farming better for the most part. You can see they're even, but Denial, I mean, they have, I think, 2 Gold Furies in their belt.
Blink, Fearless, forces Purification, but an instant response from Xenotronics annihilates Omega, forcing him to low, bring her away, but guess who's on the backside? Looking for the pickup, it's Benji and co. Benji gets one, forces EnVy back once more. Kiki below half health here, Bulwark already used. He's going to have to base soon, has his ultimate to get back to the fight though, but Benji going to keep the aggression on so his team can look for the tier 2.
Only dazzling offense used, and a root coming out, trying to connect, but just off the mark is Shadowq, and now another tier 2 as Denial continue to siege, and they don't need an engage.
Xenotronics plays that so well.
Benji is just the guy in the back line, just distracting everyone and forcing them to, and baiting them, honestly, onto him.
But Xenotronics in that fight gets Fearless, immediately purifies, 180s, hits the root, hits the crush, Omega almost deleted off the past the Lawbringer away, and allows Benji to make the play at the end.
This is the thing about Warriors, right? You can be the most powerful guy in the game when you're 6 levels ahead of everyone, but once everyone is level 20, once these mages and hunters are full build, you get shredded, and your style needs to change.
That's why Guardians, for the most part, in the later stages of the game are more viable, and that's why we used to see Guardians in the solo lane, because they were more impactful in the later stages of the game of surviving this damage that can come out from their carries.
Here's the thing, right? You look at Omega's build, and he doesn't really have a lot of health. He only has that Pestilence online, which is, you know, plus 200. Can we actually hover over Omega very quickly? I want to see his kind of health pool in comparison. Only 2,200, and he only has a single magical protection item.
However, to be fair, even though his health pool is low, granted, those protections and the fact that he can get effective health from his healing too, it does keep him alive longer than building the health from the tier. The effective health will help. I'll talk about that in a minute. Fijan goes to Denial. They were a little bit late for the engagement. Wall comes out from Eonic, Tornado 2. Going to put a little bit of pro pressure on, but Benji's quite tanky to not worry about. And Cyclone, who was in the sky, is now going to ride his chariot all the way home.
EnVy, no wards there. A little bit slow to respond, or at the very least, maybe they were trying to concede it. They do still have a pretty good defense, right? Spirit of the Nine Winds, just like I'm a Monster, is a game changer.
It is.
And because EnVy have so much setup for it, they can still defend. And a lot of it right now is holding out, because MLC Stealth, he's working on Soul Reaver. He's almost full build outside of that. Xenotronics on kind of that same build, and it's getting to the point where Denial has a massive lead, but it's only going to be useful now. The longer this game goes, the smaller that gap gets.
However, the opportunity for aggression from Denial is a little bit more limited now. They're going to have to force a hard engage with Benji more often than not here. En masse with a blink ult, if they can find that too, it will pay off. Tornado's going to get dropped and just keep these minions at bay, and the taunt is good from Kiki. Just poke damage, that's all they're after.
Look at that though. Shadowq immediately turns his camera, hits Rising Dawn, reduced damage on his team, and now him and Benji surge forward. They're going to find a pluck.
And it's onto Omega, who has to use his his power cleave to heal himself up and get away again. Axe going to miss from Vetium, but they're holding firm at the moment at EnVy. It's working out okay.
Denial. They're trying to bait any relics they can right now, but they have to be worried of Kukulkan's tornadoes. And now dash forward. Kiki gonna find 2.
Tornado
actually gets
again.
2 purifications. That's huge.
It does get the purification, which means the next assault is a dangerous one.
Xeno and Vetium.
Do Denial drop back now?
I don't know, but if I'm Xeno or Vetium,
I'd
stand away from
That's
Kiki.
what we're looking for. Ultimate does connect. MLC Stuff going to look for the ult in response, though. Connects with Mask, but Masked is tanky enough to survive. Omega going to swing around, but get abducted by Shadowq to allow Mask to escape. Phoenix still stands, however, on the front side at the moment as Kiki's getting very low, and Omega comes back in.
Xenotronics gonna dash out for now. Omega actually might get turned on, but Mantle of Discord finds the stun on the players close to him. Good stun coming out. Kiki trying to get away, silenced, one more hit. Reflection shield just off the mark.
Nobody dead just yet, and I say that, CycloneSpin, sorry, cast a curse, my friend. Eonic's in the sky, Vetium well aware of it, looking up at him, saying, come down, son, I'll fight you. Axe to the... No, he misses.
It was close.
If he landed there, I was like,
I thought it was going to happen. Middle Phoenix falls, though. Denial, they're going to siege forward. Envy, they've lost 1. They're actually going to lose 2. I'm a Monster gets a reset. Xenotronics looking for another over the wall. Eonic holds close and manages to stay alive. Kiki can't, however, and that's going to be 2 Phoenixes.
And now Denial in a position to take game 1 here. They're against Stealth, though. This is risky. Stealth doesn't have his ultimate, but a Tornado and a Squall with a Polynomicon can do a lot of damage. However, Denial can do the most damage to the Titan in seconds. Denial clean it. 37 minutes over Envy.
The Pentagon of Power has been breached, and Denial on an upwards trend. Envy, at least over the last couple of weeks, have been on a pretty downward swing, and I don't think anyone really played it bad. I just think Denial played it phenomenally, and honestly, Xenotronics looked so good in that game. That's the best game I've seen from him.
Let's go right back to the beginning of the game, because this was a gank onto Benji at the beginning. Maybe we can see it from his viewpoint, because he doesn't know where Thor is, and Omega played this very aggressively and gets a very good Fearless off, and it was like, well, this is dead. However, Benji doesn't dash away. The wall came down, expecting a dash. Instead, Benji went, well, I'm just going to ult and go for the play, because there's nothing else I can do here, and survives, picks up a kill.
Pretty important turnaround there. That allowed Amaterasu to kind of carry herself out of that weak early game she usually has.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Tier couldn't really do anything. Obviously, Omega down a couple levels for most of that game and tried to dive the backline, but wasn't very big on health items. While he had a lot of protections and the Mantle of Discord at the end, even you said Xenotronics just turning it around and just going, burning them from 100 to 50.
It's like below 50. Xenotronics had a very good game that game on that Scylla. Early on, this is an I'm a Monster we missed, which was the combo we saw. However, Stealth hit perfectly on point with that as well.
Stealth was really, really good with the Spirit of the 9 Winds, but it just seemed like I saw like 4 or 5 resets on Xenotronics ultimates. He's going to find a dash, not only the crush, but then he dashes forward and hits the crush as well.
Yep. Well, I think that was a poly, actually, not a root. I thought he went for the root, but it was a Polynomicon proc, I think, the way he just autoed after the Sentinel as well. Vetium as well on that Ullr, who started Transcendence. Throwing Dagger's Rain, is it over?
I think on certain casters it is, like maybe a Neath and Ullr. And this, the item hasn't been nerfed yet, so the crit's still there, still strong. And then just really good positioning from him for the most part. Just all game, just making sure to stay back. He recognizes that he has front lines and Shadowq, masked kind of a pseudo front line where he was blinking in, finding the ult, and then getting hit by Stealth Salt in return on cooldown. But
yep. And a good performance from Vetium again. I mean, the hunter scene over in North America at the moment is crazy. There's a lot of good carries.
Really good.
Well,